beautiful, dark Wednesday night, September 4th in San Diego, California. We're here for episode 23 of Coast to Coast Pinball. I'm about to play some music that has not yet been picked. Let's do it. I hope whatever music I picked is just awesome underneath me right now. Who knows? Welcome to Coast Pinball. This is Nate Shivers. It's September 4th, 2013. This is episode 23. This is a podcast, this is a commentary, and I'm a man at a quarters. What's going on? I had amazing feedback to the last show. I had more emails in the 24 hours or 48 hours after the last show than I've had from any other show. I had emails from all over the world. Australia, had a blog comment from Sweden, had somebody from about 3 miles away from where I live. Thank you. Very cool. The whole idea of doing "and the year was" and using 1995 has been a hit. People liked that. So good news, this show we're diving back into 1995. Bad news, not going to finish it tonight. It's going to be part 2 of 3. It's a busy year. There's a lot to talk about. So what's going on? Tell you what I did earlier. I was playing Twilight Zone, and I wasn't playing very well. So I just decided to see how many times I could shoot the dead end shot, which, if you don't know that game very well, it's the shot where you shoot off the right flipper at a real tough angle through the pop bumpers, through the town square, and hit the dead end. And it's hard. It's kind of a sucker shot to go for if you're really trying for score, because you will often just drain very quickly doing that. So I did hit the dead end shot a few times. I like it because it plays a big car crash thing on the DMD. So that's really the extent of the pinball playing I did this evening. Played my Judge Dredd some more, and then I took some really nice photographs of it that are going to go on some websites, because I'm going to trade that game. I'm going to put that game up for trade. I don't know why I don't want to just sell it, get the money, because money, cash talks. But I think I'm going to see what's out there for trade right now. Maybe sell it. I got some other games on my wish list right now. There's some things I want. There's some things a little out of reach right now that soon could be in reach, with a few more liquidation type items out of this condo of mine. Wonder what I could get for the dog and the cat. I just kid. See, I just said that in case Teresa actually listens to this episode. She will not approve of that. So what's going on out there? What are you guys doing? I mean, I can tell by the email that things are picking up, and people are looking to buy pins and talk about their pins, and Expo's coming up, and I can't go to Expo. And what I want, though, is I want someone, maybe a couple people, who are going to go to Expo and spend a lot of time there, who are willing to come on to the podcast, be a part of Coast to Coast Pinball for one episode, and kind of be like my eyes on the street, my man about town, maybe my woman about town. But I want some reports from Expo next month. So if you're going to be at Expo, email me, coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. Coast, the number 2 coast, pinball@gmail.com, and let me know, and maybe we'll set something up if you're going to be there, because I'm bummed, and I'm already plotting what I'm going to do for future shows. Teresa and I we're mapping out the future of Coast to Coast Pinball. Not saying it's a huge future, but it's a future. So baby steps. We got some good ideas coming up, so that's pretty exciting. I'm not traveling right now, and not being on the road is sort of weird. Being here a lot. I travel a lot for work, and often I have other trips to other parts of the countries to see family and friends and whatnot. And this is just sort of a lull. But soon enough, in another 10 days or so, I'm back out doing a big swing through, I think, all of New England. So I've got some good trips coming up for that. And we're going to do some more California stuff this weekend. So that's exciting. Let's jump into
Forum Static.
So on the Pinside forums, if you go into the category All Pinball, right now there is a post drawing quite a bit of attention, quite a bit of speculation and talk and chatter, and it is entitled "The LE Train Has Left the Station," and LE meaning limited edition. So a good number of members and posters on the Pinside forums are, I think, mainly there because they're sort of addicted to the new games coming out, by Stern and by Jersey Jack, and, really into latest, greatest. Some of these guys are collectors. Some of these guys are big-time collectors. Some of these guys are probably more into the buying and selling than maybe even the playing. That is the vibe I get from reading some of the posts. And the gist of this topic, the original poster was basically saying that he felt that since prices on the limited edition Metallicas have sort of stalled out, and not jumped through the roof. I think a lot of people had predicted, $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 on the limited edition Metallica machines, which we have not seen that quite yet. That maybe that's the end of it, and then a large discussion ensues. And, there can be an argument, you can tailor an argument to be made that the whole limited edition thing isn't very hot anymore, and that maybe that's going to die off. And especially when you look at things like, somebody pointed out there is a Avengers limited edition from just, a few months back, less than a year, that's currently for sale on Pinside for $5,500, which is way below selling price of a limited edition Stern right now. So somebody's going to basically lose money on that. And so you could point to that. You could point to the fact that there was this incredible burst of hype and attention towards the Master of Puppets limited edition Metallica machine when the artwork hit. The game didn't have mega buzz going in. I actually felt like X-Men might have had a little bit more. And Metallica sort of, I think people feared what the artwork was going to look like and had visions of photoshopped 1980s, James Hetfield's crazy hair and mustache goatee thing on the playfield or back glass, because that could have been a train wreck pretty easily. And then the awesome custom artwork done by Dirty Donnie hit everybody's computer screens, and that's when there was an explosion of, oh my gosh, I must have that in my house, happened. And then there was the Master of Puppets limited edition, and it was like, yeah, they sold out right away. And so I think people just assume there's going to be this skyrocketing effect. And we saw it with, say, the Tron limited editions. Those are $10,000. However, here's the catch in all of this. And AC/DC, the limited editions are, fairly expensive there too. But here's what happened with Metallica, and people got to keep this in mind. The art package and the feature set of the premiums is awesome. It's, some may say it's better than the limited edition. At least the art package. The feature set's obviously about the same. So as far as playfield goes, so you could get all the toys and all the bells and whistles without having to hunt down a second sold or a flipped, as we might say, limited edition. Whereas if there had only been a pro version of Metallica and then the limited editions, I tell you, those limited editions would be over $10,000 right now. People, the flippers and the distributors who have made it a practice of buying up those games and sitting on them and then waiting, would have made a killing on them. The premium really fixed some of that, and I think Stern is doing a great service to those of us who are maybe big-time fans of certain themes who would love to own a limited edition. Like, you might be a big, giant Star Trek enthusiast, and you're so excited that not only is Stern doing a new Star Trek machine in 2013 based on the new movies, but Steve Ritchie's designing it. So that's awesome, right? And you would want the limited edition. You'd want the really cool one that's limited and rare and super collectible. But if there was only that limited one and there's only 500 of those, and then there's just this pro machine, which is definitely a major step down, you'd be priced out. A lot of people just wouldn't be able to do it. You saw it with Tron. Remember, there's no premium Tron. There's a pro, and then there's a small run of limiteds. And there's quite a difference there. So the limiteds have maintained this high price. Well, when you have a premium like in AC/DC, it's kept that limited edition price from skyrocketing totally. And Metallica did the same thing. The premium Metallica, excuse me, really, I think, is a great thing, because for those of us that are worried about playing the latest, greatest games and want the experience to be maxed out, want all the features possible, the premiums are going to be there. So you can go buy one new in a box for the fair price, for, the sale price it was intended, and plus a discount. I'm sure, most of these guys are discounted a little bit. And what that'll do is it'll sort of keep those limiteds available, even if they're being sold again, for those people out there who just really want that limited edition because they love Metallica and they really want to be the collector. Those will stay within reach, at least for a little while. And I think that's a good thing. And I hope Star Trek continues that. I hope that we have a Pro that somebody can get into for, that $4,500 to $5,500 range. And then you have a Premium, which gives you all the bells and whistles. And then I'm sure there will be some sort of, silver-plated, signed by the cast in blood of the Vulcan princess something limited edition version, whatever. I'm sure I think that would be a great thing to keep going, because from CERN's point of view, they're going to sell the limiteds right off the bat because the distributors know that they're not going to lose money on these games, so they're going to buy those limiteds first. The premiums will be a pull-through sale as people, if the game's good. Now, we can talk about this all we want, about limiteds, this, that. I think we also have to remember that the game matters. You see that $5,500 limited edition Avengers because the pinball community as a whole has kind of given that game sort of a meh. Like, really? I think a lot of us wanted to love that game. I've talked about it on multiple episodes of Coast to Coast Pinball. I really wanted to like that game. It does have a lot of checks in the cool column, but as an overall experience, it just doesn't. It doesn't blow me away, and I think that's the problem there, and that's why that limited edition is going to be affordable. It's why Transformers, limited editions are affordable. The game's not 5-star. But when you start talking AC/DC and you start talking Tron and you start talking Metallica, those games are really great. And those games, I think, will go down in the history of pinball that we're all living. This modern history will go down as the big home runs that Stern had in this kind of modern, I don't even know what you want to call it, because we had the DMD era, and then we sort of had the die down, and so we're in this new era. Hopefully it's the beginning of a new boom. I mean, or at least I think it's probably the home buyers era is kind of what we're living in right now. So it's interesting stuff. But anyway, check out that thread in the forum if you want to weigh in on that, or just sort of, it's interesting to read what people are thinking about as far as this. And I think we're sort of at max level hype on the Star Trek release right now, so it's going to be very interesting, and maybe I'll do a breaking news audio when we get an official confirmation of Star Trek. Maybe we'll get a cool little 10-minute coast to coast, me in my desk at work talking into my phone or something. I don't know, but anyway, I think it's fun times right now, so that's that. Okay, here we go. Part 2 of 1995. And the year was 1995. So, when we left off, if you listened to episode 22, if you haven't, you should go back. Go back, listen to episode 22. Put this one on pause, go get that one. We had started at the beginning of the year and worked our way through March. And the last game we talked about was what I called a classic Bally Williams machine, Theater of Magic, the John Papadou game, which it was the number 14th game on the Pinside Top 100. So we really left off where we were in 1995 with a surefire all-time great. So now we're going to start in May of 1995. A lot of games came out this year. That's why this is taking 3 parts to get through this. So we were definitely in one of the high years for the DMD era. The game that they put out, I've spoken about recently on podcasts, is No Fear, Dangerous Sports. So if you remember the 90s, the X Games was kind of all over the place. extreme sports was really popping up and taking over. You're starting to see X Game all over ESPN, and there was guys like Jeremy McGrath and these, BMX and motocross guys were sort of becoming like celebrities. Even if it's a niche, they were still becoming celebrities. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they went with this as a theme. And No Fear is a clothing brand, and I think, oh boy, I'm sure they have other products, but it's a brand. So sort of they co-opt with No Fear to do this dangerous sports game. It's a Steve Ritchie design. So here's a Steve Ritchie design that you can buy very affordably right now. There's quite a few of these games made. A lot of the games we're going to talk about in this section, you're going to hear the production numbers are well under 3,000. Well, this game had 4,540 made. And currently today, it ranks outside of the top 100. So you have a game with fairly high production numbers in the 90s, Steve Ritchie design, and it's out of the top 100. That surprises me. It's a game you can buy for $2,000 or less today, right now. So the first thing you think about when you think about No Fear, obviously, is it's an interesting theme in that, it's got skiers on it, extreme skiing, and motorsports. I think it even has water skiing, because they were trying to do the whole land, air, water, snow kind of modes and type of things to it. You have the skull, the No Fear skull is like a big toy, sort of, and he talks to you. And I believe it's Steve Ritchie's voice, because it sounds an awful lot like the guy from AC/DC, if you know what I'm saying. So this game is the ultimate in fan layouts. If you want to, if you're out looking for games and you think, I don't have a fan layout in my collection, and I love Steve Ritchie, and I have about $2,000 to spend, put this game on your list, because this is definitely the ultimate in fan layout. There's quite a few shots, and there are actually some tough shots in this game, some tight shots. There are no pop bumpers on No Fear. Check it out. Look at the playfield. There's no pop bumpers, so nothing to slow you down, right? There is a ramp up top that has a flipper, like up in the ramp, and you can actually flip the ball across, and it does this little jump over a gap in the ramp, which is kind of cool. And, this game has a, quote, magnetic ball accelerator, which speeds the ball up as it goes through. Kind of a gimmick. They try it out. It's sort of all over their marketing materials from that time period, so that was one of the big pitches on this. I like this game. I like this game a lot. I don't like the theme. Doesn't speak to me. I was never a BMX guy or motocross guy when I was a kid. Never really was attracted to that world. I think that this is a theme that's a little probably pinball geek. If you took your stereotypical pinball geek, I think you and me, us, we tend to lean more towards science fiction and adventure and things like that. We're a little more Knights of the Round Table than we are BMX water skiing in general, and that's just some sweeping generalities. So I think that theme is probably hurting this game a little bit too, as far as ranking and value and whatnot. The artwork on this game is perfect for what it is. It's very busy, it's colorful, but it looks good. It's a very modern-looking game. When you walk up on this game, between the skull piece, all the ramps that you're looking at, and the colors, it's a very modern-looking game. So, not bad at all. Not bad at all. It has a kickback on it. I actually like one of the play features of this game, because it has drop targets that you have to hit to then light the kickback, and it's sort of a risk-reward thing. You can go for the drop targets to get your kickback lit, but you may drain also. I read a lot of reviews of this game. A lot of people call it a drain monster. That has not been my experience. It plays very fast. Definitely fast. So, I think it's underrated. I think 102 is too low for this game. When I start looking at games in the 60 through 100, there may be deeper, better theme games in there, but I think a lot of those games aren't as fun to play as No Fear. So, that's No Fear. The next game in the next month of 1995 is from Gottlieb, and you want to talk about a theme that I don't understand, connect with, or care for. Frank Thomas's Big Hurt. So this is baseball. And I actually like baseball. I'm a baseball fan. So I don't have any problems with the baseball theme. But choosing one player who, granted, he was sort of an exciting player. Frank Thomas was a big dude, he had a lot of home runs. But sort of picking just one player who really wasn't like a megastar. Frank Thomas was not, A-Rod or it's not like Babe Ruth. He wasn't that big back then. It's an interesting pick. I'd love to know the history of this. I'm guessing Frank Thomas played for the White Sox in my head for most of his career. Chicago pinball machines, manufacturers based in Chicago, sort of a hometown deal. Probably how that happened. So this game came out in June. They built under 2,000 of these, 1,985. Currently ranked 178th on the Pinside Top 100, 200, 300. I was actually surprised when I looked at it that it was that high. I was thinking 250. Honestly, in my head, I had 250 screaming at me in my head because the theme. I've never played one of these games in person, so I did a lot of research looking into it. And what I will say about this game is the people who own it and review it speak very highly of this game. It's a System 3 Gottlieb, so there's some love for that out there. The toy and sort of the gimmick to this game is there's 3 ramps right in the middle of the game, and they're 3 pretty tight ramps that are together, and there's a moving baseball glove that goes back and forth left to right above these ramps, and the left and the right ramp will do different things. They call it the left gap shot and the right gap shot, like you're hitting a ball in the left gap or the right gap, and then there's the center field ramp, and if you hit the ball into the glove, from best I can decipher reading rules and reviews, if you hit it gently, you get a single. If you hit it hard, it's an out, I believe. But you can hit a home run in this game by hitting the center ramp and jumping up to the next part behind there. And you get into different parts of the game by hitting left and right. So the layout actually looks pretty cool. I would actually like to play this game. I think that this is probably one of those machines that, okay, so it's a Gottlieb, so there's a lot of hate for Gottlieb, not a lot of love for Gottlieb. Bizarre theme, Frank Thomas, Big Hurt, kind of odd. And I think it's one of those deals that if we had just had a whole different theme with this exact same layout, we'd probably be ranked up a little higher than 178, because people do sort of rave about this game. A lot of people say it's their favorite Gottlieb, favorite of their System 3s, etc., etc. So, interesting. I did read a lot about unbalanced scoring, where the loop shots just jack the scores up ridiculous. The art package on this game is very different. It's very dark, has a very nighttime feel to it, which I kind of like. I think it looks kind of neat. It's not exactly what I expected. I hadn't really paid attention to the playfield in this very much. I did also notice that they had the sponsorship thing going in this game too. There's Reebok sponsorships on this game. In fact, the plastics above I think it's about the slingshots is sponsored. Maybe it's the flipper plastics, now that I think about it, have Reebok on them. So kind of interesting. So that's Gottlieb's, Frank Thomas's Big Hurt. Later in June, also in June, we had another game that came out from the Williams Corporation under the Bally name. Indianapolis 500, Dennis Nordman's design. I had an email from somebody who, I don't have my mailbag in front of me, we'll probably hit that later, who was thrilled that I was talking about 1995, and they said that Indianapolis 500 was one of their favorite games. So they built 2,249 of these guys. So that's still not a real high number for a Williams game in this era. It's currently ranked number 62 in the top 100, so fairly high up. I do read people saying that they like this game better than Whitewater, which is generally regarded as Nordman's number 1 design of all time. My biggest problem with the Indianapolis 500, the gameplay is all right. I've played this game a little bit. It's okay. I don't like the art package. I'm not a fan of the art package. And when reading a little history on this game, they switched up the color schemes of this a lot because there was comments from their German distributor. I said that funny. Anyway, their German distributor gave them feedback that the original color scheme was like baby colors, quote unquote. The German did not like the baby colors or something. So if you go back and look, it was in like these light blues and stuff. So this is probably the same German distributor who got the Dead World parts of Judge Dredd changed, because the story on Judge Dredd is Dead World was going to, be the way to lock the balls for multi-ball. It was going to hold the balls, and the German distributor was worried that it would break. So they changed it for him. So this German distributor was buying some games because Williams was like, jump? Oh, how high, Mr. German distributor? We'll gladly jump. I just thought that was interesting. So I don't like the artwork on Indianapolis 500. It's okay. You know, it's bland. It looks like a Gottlieb game. It really does to me. One of the toys is like this little Matchbox car on this little quote-unquote mini track, which is just like a circle with a plastic ring around it. And the car spins, and that activates the shaker motor, and the whole thing shakes a little bit. It's integrated okay with the shaker, but the car toy is actually kind of lame looking. It is a nice, fast game. I think this is probably maybe High Speed 2, but this is probably my favorite auto racing game, and I'm not an auto racing guy at all. I don't like NASCAR one bit at all, and I'm talking about the game and the sport, auto sport. It's not really a sport, it's an auto sport. But anyway, this is probably my favorite race car game of all time. I think there's some good shots. I like the ball lock feature and how it spits them back out at you once you get going on multi-ball. I think that's cool. There's a video mode on this. I seem to remember playing a video mode where you just got an Indy car and you're moving it sideways with your flippers to avoid stuff on the track. But yeah, so, you know, low production number. Again, a theme that I don't think is in the wheelhouse of most of us, you know, pinball geeks. I think there's probably parts of our country where Indianapolis 500 plays pretty well, but, you know, definitely probably hurts it. So, that is that. Moving into July, so we're past the midway point in 1995, date-wise, and Sega put out a game that I actually just played a bunch and was in a trip report recently from somewhere in New York. I forget where. Binghamton, New York, maybe? And it's the game Batman Forever, based off the movie Batman Forever. Another game where production here was only 2,500 units. This is another Sega game with the larger DMD, the 192 by 64 dot, DMD. This game is a pretty highly ranked Sega game. In fact, I don't have this in front of me. I'm going to do the magic pause where I, in no time at all, learn the answer to my question. So you don't even realize I just went and got my iced tea, freshened up, looked up the answer to the question of what I was just talking about. Magic of pausing the recording. Live to tape. So anyway, what I was going to say, my hunch was, and I was correct, this is the highest ranked Sega branded pinball machine on the Pinside Top 100 at 73. There's only a couple. I believe Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is the only other one, and I'm not going to go back and look, but I believe that to be true. I think those are the only two in the top 100. It is my favorite Sega branded machine by a long ways. If you compare this to X-Files, which I also just played, it's not even close. This game is really cool. A lot of people will say that this game has the feel of a Williams game, like they got really close to that, very sturdy construction, that, well laid out shots, cool toys vibe that Williams had in this era. So, it is highly thought of. The artwork's awesome on this game. I think it's really neat. It's incorporated well. One of the things you'll notice first when you walk up on a Batman Forever is the electric green wire form ramps that are sort of all over this game. And the ramp, actually, the one wire form goes all the way from the Batcave up on the upper left of the game and down all the way below and underneath the flippers. So it actually comes between the flippers and you. And brings the ball back up around to the bottom right side of the game, which is a pretty neat trick. That's been done on a couple machines before, but they do it pretty well on this one. I don't like that Batcave plastic up on the left side, and then there's a giant ramp up in the upper left also. The upper left of this playfield's like it's no man's land. You can't see anything up there. That's my biggest complaint about this game, is that this probably the quadrant of this game up there is just sort of blocked off. But that's okay, because I think the game does play well. It's fast. It's a wide-body game. It has a vertical up kicker in the upper right. It has the main toy on this is a Batwing, Batman's flying machine thing, a cannon-type toy. Now, it's very easy to point out the fact that this is so ripped off from Terminator 2. I will give you that. Yes, they have very much ripped off the Terminator 2 cannon idea. Yes, they did. But that's okay. I think the light show in this game is awesome. Again, it was 6 players possible on this game, something Sega was doing in this time period. And then also, they have a team mode thing where players, I think 1 and 3 can play against players 2 and 4, I believe. Very fun game, though. And also another game you can get for about $2,000. And I think that this is one of those bang for your buck pins out there. I think maintenance on this one is is something you need to watch out for. I've played one of these in the wild that was not well kept, and it didn't play well. Balls were falling off the wire forms. It was hard to hit certain shots. So this is one that, and that DMD, man, that big DMD that Sega used there for a while, if those go out, yikes, not fun to replace. Not fun to replace. So I don't even know if they're available. I believe they're still available somewhere, but I could be wrong on that. If they are still available and you own one of these games, these big DMDs, go buy a spare and put it in your closet. The animations in the DMD are actually pretty great on this machine as well. So they were doing some things right in these middle 90 years at Sega. So kudos to them here. August brought us a game that, if I was going to incorporate going up, going down, which I've said this before doing these lists, this would be a game going up. This is a sleeper game right now that I think people are starting to figure out is pretty fun, pretty cool, and underrated. And it is Johnny Mnemonic, George Gomez design. So this is another top designer, a game you can buy for in that $200 to $2,500 range right now, maybe less. I think they sell for less. Lower production here, 2,756 units. So again, Williams game without tons and tons built here. It currently ranks number 68 on the Pinside Top 100. I'm actually going to look right now because I want to see what the ratings history of this game was. Just as I suspected, yeah, this game has definitely gone way up in ratings in the past, say, year and a half, 2 years. So people sort of finding this one. This is the game that I talked about. Somebody rebranded into a Matrix pinball machine. So, Johnny Mnemonic. This is another game that's fast. We saw a lot of really fast games coming out 1995. Speed was a big deal. You can't help but talk about the glove toy that's on this game. There's these two gloves that hang over in the top, back left side of the playfield. And one of them is basically just a big magnet in disguise. And there's a vertical up kicker below that will shoot the ball. So it actually looks like the magnet is yanking the ball up off the playfield, like grabbing it out of midair. And this then moves, and you can drop the ball. You have 7 seconds to drop the ball by moving the glove with your flippers and the extra buttons on this game to drop the ball. And you can drop it into the Matrix, which is like the lock ball section. And you can sort of decide how you want to play the game. If you want to lock them and go for certain jackpots, or you're going to start certain modes. Pretty neat toy. It breaks all the time. I mean, you'll read time and time again that it breaks, and it's kind of hard to fix. So buyer beware on that one. If you're going to buy one of these, you really want to make sure that glove toy's working, because that to me is a $200 to $400 swing in the price of this machine. Easily. Fast game. I really like this game. It has one of the best wizard modes out there. You go through the 5 modes and you get to this power down mode where the game just like shuts off on you and starts fresh. I think it's just really neat. Look that up if you want to see something cool on a pinball machine. Go to YouTube and look up the power down wizard mode on Johnny Mnemonic. The music's really good on this. The call outs not so much, because it's fake Keanu Reeves doing call outs, which definitely a situation where I think this pinball machine is better than the movie. The movie's pretty brutal, if I remember correctly. It's been years since I've seen it, but not a movie that I'm real thrilled with. To me, I don't know. This game isn't exactly like anything else. This game's pretty different. It has some interesting concepts. I think it plays different. I think that 95 was just a really cool year for games that had new ideas, new concepts, new toys, and cool vibes. I think Johnny Mnemonic definitely has its own vibe to it. So if you're out there, and I just heard that the Pinball Wizard Arcade in Pelham, New Hampshire is adding a Johnny Mnemonic. It's probably there already. So if you're out in New England, go check out Johnny Mnemonic. And I think you'll see, too, the prices on these games are going up a bit right now. All right, last one we're going to do for this episode for 95. In September, under the Bally name, we were treated to when we were talking about Johnny Mnemonic being sort of a different feel, this may be one of the most different types of pinball machines released in all of the 90s, in fact, and that's the game Who Done It. Who Done It? So they made, in the middle 2000, like 2,400 and some, whodunits were built. It currently ranks number 83 in the top 100, which I'm actually surprised it's that high, because I don't think this game's everyone's cup of tea. It's kind of like Clue in a pinball machine. I mean, obviously that's kind of what they were going for, was let's play a game of Clue and progress through it. Although the problem is you have to program your game, and it's not all that random, so it can get spoiled for you. But interesting game, because you're trying to solve a murder mystery. The setting of this game is in like a casino, and so they incorporate a lot of gambling ideas and concepts into the game. And that's one of the downsides to Whodunit, is that you can risk your points in the gambling games and really throw off the scoring system, so it makes it a little cheesy on that. But that being said, it's such a breath of fresh air when you play. Let's say you played all these games that we talked about, No Fear and Indianapolis 500 and Johnny Mnemonic. Well, Whodunit just plays completely differently. First of all, there's this giant ramp in the middle, which is the elevator ramp shot, which sort of is how you get through the game. So they make it pretty big and wide and fairly easy and obvious, but it needs to be, because that's sort of how you play the game, and you progress through who the murderer is. There's a big telephone, is one of the big toys on the playfield. I think it's easy to see when you first walk up to a Whodunit. This is a game that drives me nuts just because it has the word Who in it. I'm always looking for a Doctor Who machine, and Whodunit always pops up. I like Whodunit. I don't love Whodunit. I think it's one of those games in the household would be really fun for like 3 months, and then you'd want to bail on it. One thing I will note about this game is that when you play it, you can select, if the settings are set up this way. They gave operators an option to have this expert or novice settings available. An expert setting is really just normal. Novice setting, and this is a pretty cool idea, and this shows you that the companies are trying to find ways to excite operators and let operators excite people and keep a foothold in pinball machines out in the wild as earning machines. The novice setting gives you a guaranteed 2-minute game time. So basically you can drain as many balls as you can drain in that 2 minutes when you're on novice mode, and then after the 2 minutes, that's your last ball. And it's an interesting idea, because there are definitely games out there that your playtime for somebody who's never really played pinball would be far less than 2 minutes if they don't really know what they're doing. So I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. I think a game like Wizard of Oz it'd be a great mode for Wizard of Oz, so that you could select, basically, I'm going to give up my right to all 3 balls if I choose this mode, but it's going to give me a minimum time, so that if I'm really bad and just trying to learn, at least I'm going to get 2 minutes out of this machine. And my high scores won't be counted towards anything, because I'm sort of cheating and all that, but that's fine. So I think it was a kind of a cool idea. This game also had some of the best promotional flyers I've ever seen. Go to the Internet Pinball database and look up the promotional flyers for Whodunit. It's very cool, because they really played up the whole, here's who could have, been the murderer and the casino. It's neat. I really like the vibe of Whodunit. The flow of the game's really awful on a lot of levels. It's so stop and go. You don't really ever get going. You have to sort of really think about what you're doing. And I would like that on a limited basis. So it's just different, though. And that's the best thing I can say about Whodunit, is that it is so completely left of center compared to what else is going on, that I think it's cool. And unfortunately, the reality is right now where we are with pinball and design, Stern's not going to make a game like this. And no startup is going to make a game like this. Everybody's trying to make I think everyone's trying to make, a Twilight Zone or Medieval Madness, basically. Like either a game that's just, tons of flow, tons of cool toys and tons of cool shots and modes and get to the wizard mode, or they're trying to make, a game that, like Avengers to me is sort of like it's in the Twilight Zone world of stuff. You have the 2 worlds, if there were. There's really more than 2, but if there were just 2, to me, it's like the Twilight Zone, the Addams Family, those style, where there's, a busier playfield, lots going on, not a fan layout, stop and go, progress through modes. And then there's the other side, the Medieval Madness, the Attack from Mars, the sort of fan layouts with the just keep shooting, keep going to get through the modes, and not so much, stops. And I think right now that Stern's playing it safe, just trying to hit one of those two. So you're not going to get these left of center games. You're not going to see a Bonsai Run. You're not going to see a Whodunit. You're not going to see, a game like Doctor Who, which is kind of just this big time expander toy. So we're going to be fairly limited in what we get out of companies right now because they can't afford to have flops. And, Gary Stern said it already that he's sticking with licensed themes to avoid flops. Well, they're sticking with certain design ideas to avoid flops. So it's interesting because I think you can look at almost everything they've released in the past 5 or 6 years and sort of categorize them in one of two sides of things. Interesting. And that's my opinion. That's not the gospel. That's just my opinion. So there's where we're at. We're going to leave you in September of 95, and we will continue that next episode. All right, couple of mailbag things here. I'm going to try and burn through some of these. We're way back, talking episode 18 here. Joe, friend of the show, Joe, emailed. He agreed on roller games. He was shocked at the pricing, how those have skyrocketed. He even said he tweeted, is roller games really a $1,500 game now? I know. But, Steve Ritchie, it's the designer thing. So, definitely. He thinks the next games that could also start going up would be Firepower and Black Knight. So... maybe I'm reading it. No, I'm sorry. He was talking about High Speed. He said Firepower and Black Knight are already pretty high thanks to the Pinball Arcade. So Joel wrote me and had suggestions for the website. He thought I should maybe start a blog post for each episode, which I'd actually had the same thought, and I've been doing since Joel wrote me this. Joel's just thought it'd be cool because every time I put a blog post on our website, Coast2CoastPinball.com, you could then comment on that episode, and we could have an ongoing discussion about how I was maybe too tired to be doing a podcast tonight or something. So yeah, I wrote him back and let him know I totally agreed. And his comment on episode, I believe, 18 was he appreciated the assessment of the Stern distribution changes. I had a lot of little notes about that, Facebook message and stuff. People liked hearing about that side of the distribution. And I think that all gets lost on consumers sometimes because consumers just want to buy pinball machines. They don't really think about why there's distribution and distributors and whatnot. And so I was glad to lend somewhat of a inside, albeit from a different industry, inside opinion on that. So thanks for listening, Joel. Let's see what else. See if I can hit in one more here. Dylan wrote, and he said, hey man, just wanted to drop you a note after listening to episode 21 and your mention of Striker Extreme. I found one on location in Toronto a couple days ago and got to play it for a bit. Unfortunately, the top left flipper didn't have enough juice to hit that right ramp, but not a bad table for the era. Anyways, dig the podcast. I'm kind of shocked how much content you're putting out. Makes waiting for the other ones more bearable. I get that probably more than anything, either on Twitter or through Facebook or through my website. Just little quick notes about thanks for doing the show so often. And I don't read most of those emails on here just because it's sort of self-serving feeling to me on some level. But I really like doing this. I like talking pinball, and I've said it before. It's really fun to talk about something that's not so serious and really just fun. And I want it to get bigger. I want to do other things. Like I said earlier in this show, we've got some fun ideas that as time goes and I think I still got a little to prove here. Who am I? I'm just some dude talking about pinball. What do I know, right? I want to be a commentator. I want to be a voice from sort of the outsider point of view a little bit. I like that idea. So anyway, keep the emails coming. Love hearing what you say. We'll get through more emails next episode. I have a bunch more waiting. I'll always try and mention anything on the show, especially if it has a comment other than just thanks. I appreciate the thanks, but I'm not going to always just say that. Very good. So anyway, again, if you want to email me, it's coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. Anybody going to Expo, let me know. Want to talk to you. Got some ideas. And find me on Twitter at C2C Pinball. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Coast2CoastPinball, and then our website where our blog is and the photos that I put together for most episodes is at Coast2CoastPinball.com. We will be back here with episode 24 maybe sometime this weekend. That's what I'm thinking. I think we're going to get Teresa on. She needs to chat with us a little bit. So I will talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You know, all my life, I've been careful to stay in my own corner.
Yeah?
Looking out for number one, no complications.
You like it easy. I get that.
Now suddenly, I'm responsible for the entire f***ing world.
Whoa, language,
And everybody
dude.
and his mother is trying to kill me if
Kill you?
my head doesn't blow up first.
Maybe
Like,
it's not just
Like,
about
literally?
you anymore.
Who are you? Why are you talking over me?
Listen. You listen to me.
Okay.
See that city over there?
Yeah.
That's where I'm supposed to be.
Baltimore?
Not down here with the dogs and the garbage and last month's newspapers blowing back and forth.
I'm gonna have to ask you to stop swearing.
I've had it with them. I've had it with you. I've had it with all this.
What did I do?
I want room service.
Rooms? You're hungry? Food?
I want the club sandwich. I want the cold Mexican
Okay.
beer. I want
What?
a $10,000 a night hooker.
A hooker. That's illegal, sir. It's expensive, too.
I want my shirts laundered.
Easy. We can do that.
Like they do at the Imperial Hotel
Okay, okay.
in Tokyo.
Oh, not the one in Tokyo. Can't do that. Sorry, man.